my mother. I logged into FamilySearch and I don't have any parents now. What's wrong? Howdy, this is Andy Lee with Family History Fanatics. If you've logged into FamilySearch Family Tree for the first time and you don't have anybody connected to you, there's a good reason for that. Family Tree tries to keep people who are living private. And so, if you've logged in for the first time, you're the only person who can see yourself. And since you haven't connected yourself to anybody else, they're not going to show up. So let me show you how you can connect yourself to your parents and your grandparents and be able to become part of the great big family tree. So you've just logged on to FamilySearch and you're trying to figure out why none of your family is showing up, why there's nothing there at all. Well, we're going to walk through what is going on here. Now, I'll point out to begin with that I am in the sandbox. I'm in the beta of this. And so what I've done is I've taken myself and I've stripped out all the people that are attached to me so that it's just me. And if you're logging in for the first time, this is probably what your family tree is going to look like in FamilySearch. It will have whatever information you put in about yourself, and it might be asking you, are you new? Do you want to start here? So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can actually just click on the start here, and it will walk you through a process of starting to find family members of yours. So it's going to go through several of these pages about your father, what you know about him, about your mother, about your grandfather, about your grandmother. And so it's going to go through and ask us information about each one of these people. And it's important that you can mark them as either living or deceased, because Family Tree is going to handle living people different than it handles deceased people. Namely, there should only be one copy of a deceased person. And that's because since they're dead, everybody can view the information about them. But to protect the privacy of living people, you can see all the living people you created, but you can't see the living people that others have created. So when you're adding new living people, you're the only one that's going to see that. But as you go further back and you start to add people who are deceased, not only you can see those people, but any relatives, distant cousins of yours are going to be able to see them also. So let's go back to the family tree. So here we are again, back at the beginning of the family tree. And I'm just going to X this Are You New Here box out and show you the other way of adding people. And this is just directly. In this case, it's going to link up to add a husband, add a wife. So add my parents. Now remember what I said. It's family tree treats living people different than deceased people. So you're going to add in however many generations of living people you have until you get to your first deceased ancestors. And then when you get to your deceased ancestors, you're actually going to be able to start searching to see if they're already in the tree and you can link up to them. So in this case, I'm going to add my father. I have to add him manually. And I know that he's still alive. And let's just say I don't know any other information about him. And since he's living, it's not going to find any matches for him. There, and as you can see, it's put him in now, and now it's also expanded the tree a little bit to his parents. So if I go over here, I'm going to add his dad. Now his dad, I know, is deceased. And I know that he died in 2014, I think it was. Oh, that is his date of birth. So he died in 2014. So now I'm going to select that year. And he died in Idaho. I actually went to his funeral, that's how I know where it was. And I'm going to start next, and it's going to start looking at all the database to see if there's anybody that's a possible match for him. And so here's what I entered in up at the top, and here's some possible matches. And actually looking right here, this I know was him. He died in August of 2014. He was born in California, and those are his parents. So instead of creating a new one, which will create a duplicate, I want to add this person as my dad's father, as my grandfather. So now I've connected my dad to his father, and let's move the tree over and see how that expands. And you can see here, there's his parents, and it's already got my grandfather's grandparents and even some more people in here as we keep on just following this out. Now, depending on how much work has been done by other people in finding these, some of this information may be really accurate and may be sourced really well. Some of it may be junk. And so you don't necessarily just want to think that, okay, since you've linked into this, then all these people, all this information is correct. You actually want to go through and verify that. But we're going to go back to my father, and we're going to add my father's mother, so my grandmother. Now, my grandmother is still alive. So because she's still alive, it's not going to find anything for her. And not only that, when we look at here, it gives me another place that I can add her parents. So I can do the same thing now with my mom. And my mom is alive. So again, this is going to create a person that only I can see. And so actually, if my dad was creating an account for himself, he would be creating his mom that only he can see, but he would be able to link to his dad, and all that information both me and him are seeing because his dad is deceased. Now, in my mom's case, both of her parents are deceased. So I'm going to add her dad in first. And he died in, I think it was 2006. The nice thing is it's still going to search for some years around that. So if it's not 2006, if it's probably going to find it. Yep, here he is, Richard Quick Kevern. And so I can add him. Remember, I'm not creating a new one because he's deceased and he's already in here. I can add him, but notice there's actually something else I can do. Right below this is a Richard Quick Kevern, which is that same person. If we look at the numbers, it's the same person, but it also has his wife. So we can actually add this couple at the same time. So rather than having to do two searches for my mom's parents, we can add both of these at the same time. Now, if my grandfather had a different wife that was my mom's mom, then I might not want to do this. But in this case, this was my mom's mom, and this was my mom's dad. So I'm going to add the couple there, and it's pulled that in. And the other thing is as we expand this out, we see that this person already has lots of others. It actually has all the grandparents and the great-grandparents that we can go through and start verifying that information. And so that is how you get from starting off with yourself and first putting in all the living people that you have, and then going through and connecting those living people to the nearest deceased ancestor. And once you are ready to put in a deceased ancestor, you're looking for other matches within the system that are like that. Now, not everybody is in the system. And so if your family doesn't have a history of doing genealogical work, then there's a decent chance that maybe the first couple of generations of deceased people aren't in FamilySearch. But more than likely at some point, you're going to run into where other people, some cousins of yours, have already entered in some distant great-great-great-grandparents into the FamilySearch system. So now, when you open up FamilySearch, you're no longer just going to have yourself, but you will have your parents and your grandparents and whoever else you've put in the system and whoever else that's deceased that you've linked up into the system. Now that I've shown you how to connect your family together to yourself, why don't you log into FamilySearch, Family Tree, and connect to your parents, your grandparents, and whatever other relatives you have that aren't currently in there. This is Andy Lee with Family History Fanatics. If you enjoy our episode, be sure to subscribe. That way you won't miss another episode.